The huge alien spaceship called Stars Promise slowly moved into our solar system. Its crystal-like surface sparkled as sunlight hit it from far away. Inside the ship, Commander Veltar from the Zenthari Empire adjusted his fancy uniform. He was getting ready for something big, the first time aliens would officially meet humans. Just another backward planet wanting to join us, his assistant Captain Thorne said quietly. Our computers show they only have basic nuclear power and simple guns that shoot metal pieces. On Lunar Station near Earth's moon, General Damon Roberts stood straight and ready in a clean white meeting room. Next to him were Admiral Latosha Williams and Colonel Jerome Brooks. All three humans watched as bright lights appeared and the alien visitors materialized right in front of them. "Welcome to our part of space," Roberts said, reaching out his hand the way humans do when they meet someone new. "We feel honored that you came here to meet us." Commander Veltar looked at the humans with his 4 bright golden eyes. His species had evolved differently, with extra eyes that could see things humans couldn't. "Your people seem capable enough. We watched your military shows, your metal war machines, flying vehicles, and water ships show decent fighting ability." Admiral Williams gave a friendly smile. "Those are just our regular troops, Commander. Basic soldiers doing normal military work." "Sure, of course," Veltar answered, not really believing her. Every species they met always claimed the forces they showed were just their ordinary ones. It was like bragging, everyone did it. "We're excited to see what your real military can do when you join our galactic community." The peaceful meeting was suddenly interrupted by a loud beeping sound. Colonel Brooks touched the small device behind his ear that let him receive messages directly into his brain. His face became serious. "General, we have a problem. Space pirates are attacking Research Station Omega way out in the outer edge of our solar system." Robert stayed completely calm, like this kind of thing happened every day. "Take care of it, Colonel. Send a small special operations team, our regular soldiers are busy showing our guests around." Veltar's translation computer had trouble understanding the words special operations. It came out sounding like unusual military work group in his language. He thought it was just humans trying to sound more important than they really were, the same way every new species did. What the aliens didn't know was that human military worked very differently from theirs. The Galactic Confederation had been watching Earth for months, carefully studying human armies, navies, and air forces. They had counted tanks, ships, and airplanes. They had watched training exercises and war games. They thought they understood exactly what humans could do in a fight. But they had missed something crucial. The forces they had been watching, the millions of soldiers in uniforms, the massive ships, the squadrons of fighter jets, these were indeed just the regular military. These were the troops who held ground, defended borders, and fought traditional battles. What the aliens had never seen were the others. The humans who worked in complete secrecy. The ones who could appear and disappear like ghosts. The soldiers who didn't wear normal uniforms and didn't follow normal rules. The teams so classified that most humans didn't even know they existed. Commander Veltar watched the human leaders with growing curiosity. They seemed remarkably relaxed for a species dealing with a pirate attack. In his experience, most civilizations would panic when raiders threatened their research facilities. They would scramble their entire fleet, call emergency meetings, and demand immediate assistance from any nearby allies. But these humans just stood there calmly, as if sending 8 people to deal with 12 armed pirate ships was perfectly normal. Veltar made a mental note to observe this engagement carefully. It would provide valuable intelligence about human combat capabilities and tactical thinking. The conference room's large windows showed the distant stars, including the direction where the pirate attack was happening. Soon, they would all know just how different human warfare really was from anything the galaxy had ever seen before. The alien-watching ships stayed far away from the pirate fleet, 12 dangerous vessels with heavy weapons surrounding the human research station like wolves around their prey. Commander Veltar settled into his command chair, expecting to watch a long battle that could take many hours to finish. "Human ship coming toward the pirates," his sensor officer reported, watching the glowing screens. "Only one vessel, very weak power readings." Captain Thorne laughed mockingly. "They're sending just one ship against 12? This will show us how useless human fighting methods really are." The alien officers gathered around their viewing screens, eager to see how badly the humans would lose. In their experience, space battles required overwhelming numbers or superior technology. One ship against 12 was suicide, plain and simple. The fight started at exactly 1432 according to their ship's time system. By 1446, everything was finished. Veltar stared at his computer displays with his mouth hanging open. His 4 golden eyes couldn't believe what they were showing him. 6 pirate ships were now floating dead in space, their protective energy shields somehow turned off and their engines completely broken. The strangest part was that nobody could figure out how it happened. 3 other pirate vessels had been taken over by enemy troops at exactly the same time. This should have been impossible since the ships were thousands of miles apart from each other. How could the same soldiers be in 3 different places at once? 2 more pirate ships had given up fighting after their captains and commanding officers mysteriously disappeared from their control rooms. The security cameras showed the officers there 1 second, then completely gone the next, like they had never existed. The biggest pirate ship, their flagship with the strongest weapons and armor, had blown up from some kind of explosion inside its own hull. This broke every rule of space warfare that the aliens knew. Ships were supposed to be attacked from the outside, not destroyed from within. "How is this possible?" whispered the sensor officer, his voice shaking with fear and confusion. The human stealth ship suddenly appeared again near the research station, as if it had been invisible the whole time. 8 figures wearing solid black armor with no identifying marks transported back onto their vessel using some kind of teleportation technology. Then General Roberts' voice came through their communication system, and he sounded sorry for keeping them waiting. "Apologize for the delay, Commander Veltar. Our team says all the hostages are safe and no innocent people were hurt. Just a routine rescue mission. Should we go back to our meeting now?" Captain Thorne frantically looked through all the sensor recordings, trying to understand what had just happened. The computer readings made absolutely no sense. They showed soldiers moving in ways that physics said were impossible. Weapons were being used that didn't match any known technology. The human team had worked together with perfect timing across impossible distances, as if they could ignore the basic laws of space and time. The most disturbing part was how casual the humans sounded about it. General Roberts had called it a routine mission, like it was something they did every day. 8 people had just defeated 12 warships in 14 minutes, and they acted like it was no big deal. Veltar's species had been fighting wars for thousands of years. They had conquered dozens of planets and defeated countless enemies. But they had never seen anything like this. The humans had made space combat look like a children's game. What made it even more frightening was the complete lack of information about how they had done it. The alien sensors were among the most advanced in the galaxy, capable of detecting the smallest energy signatures and tracking the fastest moving objects. Yet they had recorded impossible things, soldiers appearing in multiple locations, weapons that left no traces, and tactical moves that seemed to bend reality itself. The research station was now completely safe, with all the human scientists and workers unharmed. The pirates who had surrendered were being quietly arrested by what appeared to be regular human security forces. Everything looked normal again, as if the impossible battle had never happened. But the alien observers knew they had just witnessed something that would change everything they thought they knew about human military capabilities. Inside the main Zen-3 warship, Commander Veltar called together all his top military advisors for an emergency meeting. The ship's supercomputer had spent hours gathering every piece of information they could find about human fighting capabilities. "Computer analysis is finished," announced Intelligence Officer Cranth, reading from his glowing data pad. "Human military forces have about 847 million active soldiers and backup troops spread across all their different fighting branches." "And how many humans were involved in fighting those pirates?" Veltar asked, dreading the answer he was about to hear. 8 people, Commander. That represents 0.000009% of their total military strength." The room fell completely silent. You could have heard a pin drop. Every alien officer stared at each other in shock and growing fear. 8 humans had just destroyed 12 pirate warships in 14 minutes, and they represented less than 1/millionth of humanity's military power. Back on Earth, Colonel Nia Roberts had been secretly listening to all the alien communications using advanced human technology. Her report to General Damon Taylor was just as shocking from the human perspective. "Sir, they're completely panicking," she said, scrolling through intercepted alien messages. "Their computer files show they've been watching our regular military forces for months, thinking that's all we had." General Taylor looked through the alien intelligence reports on his tablet computer. The Galactic Confederation had made incredibly detailed lists of human armies, navies, and air forces. They had counted every tank, every ship, every airplane. They knew about human military bases, training exercises, and standard battle tactics. But they had missed something huge. They didn't know about the Shadow Warriors. The humans who worked in complete secrecy. The special forces units that most people on Earth didn't even know existed. Groups with names that were barely whispered even in military circles. They've been getting ready to fight our normal armies, Admiral Keisha Brooks pointed out, reading over Taylor's shoulder. They have no idea what special operations even means. Major Jerome Collins walked into the meeting room still wearing his black combat gear from the pirate mission. His equipment looked nothing like standard military uniforms, no bright colors, no identifying patches, no unit badges. Everything was designed to be invisible and untraceable. The pirates didn't understand what was happening either, sir, Collins reported. They kept waiting for us to fight like normal soldiers, you know, big formations, direct attacks, following the usual rules of war. General Taylor nodded with a serious expression. The Galactic Confederation was about to learn something that every human military school taught on the very first day of training. Regular forces are meant to hold ground and defend territory. Special forces are meant to take ground and eliminate enemies. The difference was like comparing a construction worker to a surgeon. Both were skilled, both were important, but they did completely different jobs using completely different methods. What made this situation even more dangerous was that the aliens had no concept of unconventional warfare. Their military thinking was based on massive fleets, overwhelming firepower, and direct confrontation. They fought wars the way chess players moved pieces, predictable, by the rules, with clear objectives. Human special forces operated more like ghosts. They appeared where they weren't expected, struck where it would hurt most, and disappeared before anyone could react. They didn't fight fair because fair fighting got people killed. The alien military computers were probably running millions of calculations right now, trying to figure out how 8 humans had accomplished the impossible. But they were using the wrong math. They were trying to solve a puzzle using rules that didn't apply. Colonel Roberts continued reading the intercepted communications. Sir, they are requesting emergency military consultations with their high command. Some of their ships are asking for permission to retreat to safe distances. Retreat from what? Admiral Brooks asked. We haven't threatened them. That's exactly the problem, General Taylor replied. They don't know what we're capable of, so their imagination is filling in the blanks. And human imagination, even alien imagination, tends to assume the worst. Major Collins removed his helmet and sat down heavily in a chair. The funny thing is, we were holding back during that pirate fight. Standard diplomatic protocols: minimize damage, avoid civilian casualties, keep things quiet. If we had treated it like a real combat operation. He didn't finish the sentence. He didn't need to. Everyone in the room understood that what the aliens had witnessed was the gentle version of human special operations. The Galactic Confederation was about to discover that humanity's regular forces were indeed just regular forces. The real question was whether they would be wise enough to never find out what the irregular forces could do. Commander Veltar thought his idea made perfect sense. He wanted to organize a training exercise between humanity's best fighters and the Confederation's most elite troops called the Hegemony Guard. These were 30 of the most dangerous soldiers in the entire galaxy, warriors who had never lost a battle and were feared across dozens of star systems. This will give us important information about how they fight, Veltar explained to his military officers. We can watch their tactics in a safe, controlled environment where nobody gets actually hurt. The aliens had chosen a dead, rocky moon as their testing ground. It had no atmosphere, just gray dust and sharp mountains under a black sky filled with distant stars. Perfect for military exercises since there was nothing to accidentally damage. Captain Keisha Rodriguez stepped off the human transport ship, leading her team of 5 other operators onto the lunar surface. They moved like professional athletes, every motion smooth and purposeful. They quickly checked their weapons and equipment while studying the landscape around them. What are the rules for this fight? She asked through her radio communicator. Standard war game rules, Veltar answered from his command ship orbiting overhead. First team to defeat all members of the other team wins the exercise. The first battle started with 30 alien elite guards in perfect defensive positions behind rocky barriers and energy shields. They had the best weapons in the Confederation arsenal and tactical advantages that should have made them impossible to beat. The exercise lasted exactly 43 seconds. Veltar stared at his monitors in disbelief. All 30 of his best warriors were lying on the ground, their training weapons showing they had been killed or wounded by simulated attacks. The 6 humans stood calmly in the middle of the battlefield, barely breathing hard. Let's try again, Veltar said, his voice shaking slightly. This time with better positions and extra reinforcements. The second round included 40 alien soldiers with improved defensive walls, energy barriers, and high-tech scanning equipment that should have detected any approaching enemies. They had studied recordings of the first fight and prepared counter-tactics for everything they had observed. The exercise lasted 43 seconds. The third attempt involved 50 of the Confederation's finest troops with every possible advantage their technology could provide. They had personal force fields, automatic targeting systems, advanced armor, and weapons that could punch holes through spaceship hulls. The battlefield was covered with sensors and defensive drones. The exercise lasted exactly 43 seconds. "That's interesting," Captain Rodriguez commented as her team gathered together after the third victory. "Very consistent timing on our part." Veltar's jaw parts clicked together nervously, which was a sign of extreme stress in his species. "How are you managing such exact precision?" "The timing is identical down to the second." Rodriguez looked at her teammate Staff Sergeant Damon Wilson, and they shared a knowing glance. "We're following diplomatic engagement protocols, Commander. You might say we're taking it easy on your people." That night, the Alien War Council held an emergency meeting in the deepest, most secure room of their flagship. The discussion was heated and filled with fear. "Commander," said Intelligence Officer Crantiach, "I've analyzed all the combat data from today's exercises. The humans aren't just winning these fights." "What do you mean?" Veltar asked. "They're controlling the exact duration of each engagement. Look at the timing, 43 seconds, every single time. That level of precision isn't luck or coincidence. They're deliberately ending the fights at that exact moment." The room fell silent as the implications sank in. "They're not actually fighting us," Crantiach continued, his voice barely a whisper. "They're conducting a demonstration. They're showing us that they can defeat our best warriors in exactly the time frame they choose." Captain Thorne reviewed the battle recordings frame by frame. The humans could have ended those fights in 10 seconds, or 5 seconds, or probably even faster. But they chose 43 seconds for a reason. "What reason?" Veltar demanded. "To prove they have complete control over the situation. They're not struggling to win, they're choosing when to win. The message is clear. They could end any real combat engagement whenever they decide to." Another officer raised a terrifying question. "If they're holding back this much in a friendly training exercise, what would happen in actual warfare?" Nobody wanted to answer that question. The humans had just demonstrated something that went beyond superior tactics or better weapons. They had shown surgical precision in combat timing that suggested levels of training, coordination, and capability that the Confederation couldn't even measure properly. Rodriguez and her team were already preparing to leave the moon, their mission accomplished. They had delivered their message without saying a word. Humanity's special forces operated by different rules entirely. The aliens were beginning to understand that challenging humans to combat would be like challenging the ocean to be wet, pointless and potentially catastrophic. The final diplomatic meeting took place in the most impressive room aboard the massive alien ship *Star's Promise Star. The Grand Assembly Hall was enormous, with crystal walls that sparkled like diamonds and a ceiling so high it seemed to touch the stars themselves. Commander Veltar stood at the center, no longer speaking just for his own species but representing the entire Galactic Confederation. In his 4 hands, he held official documents that would have been unthinkable just a few days ago when they first arrived at Earth. "We offer humanity full membership status in our Confederation," he announced, his voice echoing through the Great Hall. "This includes complete control over your own territory, extensive trading rights with all member worlds, and guaranteed military protection from our combined fleets." General Damon Taylor sat across from the alien commander alongside Admiral Keisha Brooks and Colonel Jerome Collins. The 3 humans carefully read through the treaty terms on their electronic tablets. The offers were incredibly generous, the kind of deal that most species had to fight wars to achieve. "This is very generous, Commander," Taylor said, looking up from his reading. "What made you change your mind about humanity so dramatically?" Veltar's 4 golden eyes stared directly at the human delegation with an intensity that made the air feel heavy. "Our military computers ran thousands of strategic war simulations. Every single analysis reached the same conclusion: any aggressive action against your species would result in devastating consequences for all galactic civilization. The treaty contained secret sections that would never be shown to the public or stored in regular government files. These classified parts stated that humanity's special military capabilities would only be used to defend Confederation interests or respond to threats that could destroy entire worlds. Even more importantly, human special operations teams would be given advisory positions throughout Confederation space. This was diplomatic language that really meant human special forces would be quietly stationed on alien worlds, ready to handle problems that regular military forces couldn't solve. Our government accepts this arrangement, Taylor stated in his official voice. It will free up our special operations teams to focus on more challenging missions in unexplored parts of the galaxy. As the ceremony to sign the treaty began, Captain Keisha Rodriguez and her team were already preparing for their next assignment. Their mission briefing mentioned star sectors that didn't appear on any official galactic maps, mysterious regions where something had been sending distress signals in languages that even the Confederation's advanced computers couldn't understand. These were places that officially didn't exist, where dangers lurked that the known galaxy wasn't ready to face. Within just a few hours after the treaty was signed, new threat assessment reports were being transmitted to military commanders across thousands of worlds. Humanity's official classification in galactic databases changed from emerging minor power to approach with extreme diplomatic courtesy and caution. This was the diplomatic way of saying be very, very nice to these people or terrible things might happen to you. In the dark depths of space, far from any inhabited worlds, human special operations teams began setting up secret forward bases in locations that didn't exist on any star charts. They were preparing for challenges and enemies that hadn't yet revealed themselves to galactic civilization. Meanwhile, back in normal space, human regular military forces continued giving impressive demonstrations to visiting alien dignitaries. Tanks rolled across training grounds, fighter jets performed aerial maneuvers, and naval ships conducted formation exercises. The aliens watched these displays and nodded approvingly, thinking they understood human military capabilities. But deep in classified briefing rooms, they whispered about the 8 individuals who had single-handedly redefined the balance of power in the known universe. 8 humans in unmarked black armor who had shown that everything the galaxy thought it knew about warfare was completely wrong. The Confederation's military leaders now understood a fundamental truth about humanity. The massive armies they could see were just for holding territory and maintaining order. The real power, the force that could make or break civilizations, belonged to the shadows. Human special forces operated by rules that the galaxy didn't understand, using methods that seemed to ignore the basic laws of physics and warfare. They could appear anywhere, strike with surgical precision, and vanish without a trace. They were the ultimate military tool in a universe that was about to become much more dangerous. As alien dignitaries returned to their home worlds, they carried with them new instructions from their governments. Treat humans with respect. Offer them favorable trade deals. Never, under any circumstances, give them a reason to demonstrate what their special forces could really do when they weren't being polite. The message was clear across the galaxy: humanity had joined the galactic community not as subjects or junior members, but as the new apex predators in a universe full of prey.